Bitcoin is cheap, at least according to the CEO of Pantera Capital. And you know what? I agree with him. Bitcoin is cheap right now. Cheap. So in this video, I'll be breaking that down for you as well. We have some news about what's going on in El Salvador. The World Bank is not too happy with what they are doing, joining, of course, in with the IMF, who is also not happy about what El Salvador is doing. We also have some news on the Bitcoin ETF in the USA. All of that and much, much more in today's video. My name's Lark. Every day I make videos talking about cryptocurrency investing. So if that's a topic that you would like to learn some more about, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Gently tap on the thumbs up button, just for the YouTube algorithm, of course, and click on the notification bell to know when I put out a new video. So let's go ahead and turn over to the charts. So let's dive in here. As you can see, Bitcoin currently around mid $38,000 price, but I want to really draw your attention to this. So this orange line, this is the 200-day exponential moving average. Now, I usually talk about the simple moving average. That's the blue line there. You can see, obviously, they track a bit differently. The exponential moving average puts more of a focus on recent price action, so it's kind of more reflexive to the movements in the market. Of course, being a 200-day exponential moving average, still is a rather broad trend, so to speak. So now, we have just actually retested the 200-day EMA. As you can see right here, that test failed. So the price came up, we got a couple wicks just touching a little bit above it, and back down we have come. So we haven't even got back up to test the 200-day simple moving average. The exponential moving average has held us back here. So that's a very important line that we should be keeping an eye on, especially considering that it has just acted as this strong line of resistance. So we'll be keeping an eye on this moving forward. But I just wanted to point out here, I think a lot of people were popping the champagne a bit early, so to speak, right? When Bitcoin was having this nice bit of recovery here, and hey, I love green candles. Green candles are hot, man. But you have to keep in mind, until we cross over these two moving averages, I would like to see the 200-day EMA retaken. That would be positive. But until we see the blue line, the 200-day moving average retaken, you really can't say the bulls are in charge of the market. We are going to keep getting these situations where we have retests. They're going to fail quite often until we get that momentum building back up, pushing the price higher. Now, until that does happen, you have to keep in mind, we could see Bitcoin ranging in this area for a while. Now, hey, look, maybe in 5 minutes, some tweet happens that Facebook bought $1 billion worth of Bitcoin and Bitcoin just goes pumping, 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 baby. That's the kind of market that we're in, right? It is what it is. You know, we're very hype-driven, news-driven, influencer-driven. You know, people like Elon Musk can tweet and move the market significantly. It's just what happens. But if none of that does happen, I would expect that we could easily see Bitcoin coming back down to these mid to lower ranges in the $30,000 range before we get some kind of recovery. Because remember, we need to have that kind of catalyst event to help push the price forward. And we still haven't really got that spring for the Wyckoff accumulation pattern. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that as well to see if we get that. Now, again, some people are counting that as the spring for the Wyckoff accumulation pattern. I don't think it's quite the spring yet. I could be wrong, but we'll see how this, of course, plays out in the coming days. Be pretty interesting to see if we can retake this 200-day EMA at any point in the near future. We need the price to close above $41,000. Of course, coming on some decent volume as well in order for that to happen. And of course, just a quick update on our death cross. The death cross. Let's get the 200-day EMA out of here real quick. The death cross is looking pretty close to me. Don't know about you guys, but that's looking deathy right there. So current projections put the death cross happening in the next couple of days. So even though we did have this nice bit of price movement, obviously it has retraced, right? We've gone down. We got rejected at the 200-day EMA. The price has gone back down. So right now what we're looking at is the death cross to happen probably sometime over the weekend. It'll confirm again, unless, you know, Facebook comes out and says they bought $1 billion of the Bitcoin, then we will probably fend that off. But I just want you to know, the death cross is not the end of all things. Death is only the beginning, right? So don't get too scared, guys. We're going to be okay. We're going to make it. We're going to make it. But maybe that death cross will be that catalyst that we need to get that Wyckoff spring coming in. Just because we're going into a death cross scenario does not mean that we're going into a 3-year bear market scenario. We could easily see a situation where we are under the death cross for some weeks, some days, right? These can be very short-lived. We've seen them last for a week or 2 weeks sometimes, but just prepare yourself. This is coming. This is coming. It's a bearish crossover. There's no doubt about that. That's why they call it the death cross. So let's keep an eye on this, see how it develops over the next few days, but prepare yourselves. Be ready for the unexpected in the markets, because until we reclaim those key moving averages, which we have failed to do so far, the bears are in charge of the market. Now, that does not make me bearish on crypto. I'm still a massive permabull, basically, and massively bullish on this entire industry. I'm zooming out. I'm taking the big picture here. I'm looking and seeing, man, this is the most exciting asset class in the freaking world right now. Just because the prices are down doesn't mean I'm giving up and going home and selling everything. I just continue to cost average in over time, and I'm chilling, taking that long-term view. I'm thinking, where are we going to be in 2031, not in 21 hours, right? Which I think a lot of the market is on the get-rich-quick bandwagon, not on the get rich for certain, but kind of slower bandwagon. Anyway, if you guys want to buy yourself some Bitcoin, some Ethereum, some Cardano, some Polygon, whatever your fancy might be, you need to get yourself an account over on Binance. It is the #1 cryptocurrency exchange in the freaking world. And if you use the link down below in the description to start your account, then you will get up to $700 in trading bonuses and 10% off of your trading fees. So go ahead and check that out using the first link in the description. Now let's talk about what Dan Morehead had to say. He's the CEO of Pantera Capital. He said, for new investors, it's best to buy when the market is well below trend. Now is one of those times. He said Bitcoin has only been this cheap relative to his trend, 20.3% over the last 11 years. So the current market dip, this is not your standard event. When Bitcoin trades below this deviation here, that tends to be a situation where it's a good time to buy Bitcoin. It's according to this chart indicator, Bitcoin is cheap. Bitcoin is cheap at the moment. Now, Bitcoin may get cheaper in the coming days, so, keep that in mind. But that's why I cost average in. I'm not trying to time the tops, time the bottoms, right? I can see when indicators are overbought, and I buy less, right? I'm always averaging in. I'm always buying a little bit of Bitcoin on a regular basis. But when we see indicators being oversold, right, like what we had when Bitcoin went down to under $30,000 a few weeks ago, I bought a lot because I can say, wow, that's a situation where the market is overly bearish in this particular moment. There's an opportunity here to buy more. So I bought more than I usually would by a significant amount, but I'm always averaging in. And averaging in these areas tends to be really, really good for investors. Remember, the power of cost averaging into these assets over time is incredible. A lot of people, what they do, they kind of play it wrong, so to speak. They come in, they have $10,000 to invest, and they just go all in immediately. And that usually gets you in trouble. Now, if you're lucky and you go all in when the price is down and you have these historically powerful buying moments, well then, you're lucky. That's great. That means you can come in and say, hey, I got a bargain here, right? I'm a good investor, a genius, right? You just got in at a lucky time. That happens to a lot of people, but the majority of people, they get in at exactly the wrong freaking time, right? Back in April when markets were super overheated, people would just come in and throw all their money into the market. But now is, according to this chart anyway, a good time to be looking at buying Bitcoin. On a relative scale, it is cheap currently. Now you can see here, it's quite interesting too, I want to point this out. The current bull market only got us up to here. So that's approximately the same area where we got for the 2019 bear market rally. So it's this bullish trend within a bear market. So these are actually just gone off the charts here. You can't even see the tops of them, but that's the top of the 2017 bull run. That's the top of the 2013 bull run. So you can see massive deviations to the upside happening here. That tends to mark market tops. We have not had that yet, so still a lot of gas left in the tank for the market. Now let's talk about El Salvador. So El Salvador in trouble with all kinds of big institutions. So the IMF came out the other day and said, hey, look, there's issues with this whole Bitcoin thing. We don't like it. So they have been not a fan of this whole Bitcoin situation in El Salvador, to the point where we might even see them actively working to give El Salvador a hard time over this situation. Look, the IMF, they're a mafia-like organization. They're one of the worst, I would say, international financial actors in terms of basically strong-arming smaller countries that are desperate for cash into doing things that they may not otherwise want to do. Now, the IMF, bad apple. Another bad apple, the World Bank. Now, the World Bank, definitely not as bad as the IMF, and I'm sure they do some good things with some of their investments, but the World Bank has said that it cannot assist El Salvador's Bitcoin implementation because Bitcoin's not transparent enough, which shows that they are either lying, potentially, or fundamentally don't fricking understand blockchain technology and Bitcoin, man, because Bitcoin is very transparent. In fact, with Chainalysis, there is basically zero privacy for Bitcoin anymore. And of course, they bring up the old environment specter. Well, this again is some BS. I'm just going to call it that. It's BS right here. So what are we seeing right now? Bitcoin, 75% run on renewables. China, the biggest Bitcoin producer in the world, cracking down majorly on Bitcoin miners in the most coal-heavy regions of the country. Now, you can keep mining Bitcoin in China. They're not banning Bitcoin mining. They're just banning Bitcoin mining in the regions where they're using a lot of coal. Now, globally, Bitcoin uses a tiny percentage of energy, less than 1% by quite a bit, just a fraction of that. Even if it used 1%, well, it's 1% going towards something useful. We never have these conversations around other assets, right? No one's out there saying that gold is so bad for the environment. Oh, they do a little bit, but not so much as this. And what's interesting too about the World Bank saying that they're not going to help El Salvador because of environmental reasons, the World Bank literally funds oil and gas exploration and development projects all over the freaking world. If they were really serious about helping the environment because of, climate change and the carbon footprint and all that stuff, why the heck are they doing that? Surely they should put their money where their mouth is and not invest in these things. But of course they don't do that because they're giant freaking hypocrites. The World Bank is part of the freaking problem. The IMF, the World Bank, these financial institutions, they're not our friends. They're not here to help us. They are financial terrorist organizations. They are here to help perpetuate the power structures of the rich countries exploiting the poor countries. World Bank's not our friend. El Salvador, you don't need their help, man. You don't need their help. You have a big, thriving Bitcoin community out there full of lots of people who are willing to give their time and energy to help this initiative in El Salvador exceed. You don't need help from the World Bank, guys. Those guys aren't there to help you anyway, in the best of circumstances. So let's keep that in mind. Although, I gotta say, not all international financial organizations are the same. The Central American Bank for Economic Integration has 50 member countries. They've actually said they're going to help El Salvador implement Bitcoin as legal tender. Thankfully, somebody out there has some common freaking sense. But you have to keep in mind, the Central American Bank for Economic Integration, this is not like the IMF and the World Bank, which are predominantly sponsored by the major Western powers. So they're very much political organizations. They are financial weapons of Western interests primarily. And Those interests don't want to see Bitcoin succeed and the dollar to lose relevance, which is exactly what the El Salvador story could mean. So the Central American Bank for Economic Integration, they're actually looking to help El Salvador. So that's good. That makes me happy to see that, yes, there are institutions out there that are practical and fair-minded, so that's a good thing. And finally for today, just a quick update on Yodi Bitcoin ETF. The SEC has again delayed BINANCE Bitcoin ETF decision. This guy's dissatisfied face tells you everything you need to know. Come on, SEC, what's going on here? At this point, you know, I feel like the United States is going to be one of the last countries to approve a freaking Bitcoin ETF. And look, it's a very important market for a Bitcoin ETF to get approved on because it's more than half of the world's equity markets by total value. It's incredible potential for the price of Bitcoin to go skyrocketing once we have a Bitcoin ETF. It will allow just this incredible amount of new money to come flooding into the markets. So it'll be a big deal when it does happen. Unfortunately, the SEC still dragging their feet. Unfortunately, the SEC just not willing to, you know, have a practical approach to this situation. Canada's already done it. Canadian Bitcoin ETFs have been trading for a few months now. Brazil's done a Bitcoin ETF. South Africa is probably going to do a Bitcoin ETF pretty soon. Australia's talking about doing a Bitcoin ETF. Basically, everybody's going to have a Bitcoin ETF except the freaking United States. Because the SEC can't get the crap together. Come on, man. Come on, SEC. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. Hopefully, we do see a Bitcoin ETF approved by the SEC in the USA sometime this year. I'm still optimistic that that's going to happen. Maybe it won't be until after summer, North American summer, so maybe we'll have to wait 2 or 3 months for that to happen. But I still think we have a very, very good chance. Remember, there's 12 applications for Bitcoin ETFs currently sitting with the SEC. There's a good chance that at least one of those will get approved by the end of the year. So fingers crossed, because that'll be a good market pumping event when it does happen. Anyway, those are my 2 Satoshis for the day. Your question: what is your Bitcoin buying strategy? Do you buy a bit every week? Are you a cost averager, right? Do you just every Friday you put in $100, whatever it's going to be? Are you a dip buyer? You only buy when you see certain indicators showing that the markets are massively oversold. Now it's time to buy. Do you just go all in whenever you get money happen to come into your life? Whatever your strategy might be, let us know down below. Very curious to hear your approach to investing in Bitcoin. Thanks so much for watching today's video, and peace out till next time.